Hey everybody, Rob here from the Oyster House Boys. Just following on from my last video, and this is another look at Arturia's Pigments 2 and what you can do with some of the sample-based synthesis. So in the previous video we looked at granular synthesis, and in this one we're going to take a look at using samples in a slightly different way to create kind of like a playable set of sounds ranged across the keyboard, although there are other ways that we can use it, which I'll show you in a minute as well. Just to give you something with some variety and playability using a MIDI controller. So let's go to Engine 1. I'll just show you this is actually just a blank document. I'm using Logic as my host here, but it works with anything that will host these kind of plugins. And I'm going to go from analog to sample. And at the moment you can see our sample is just set to this kind of standard. Make sure that the engine's turned on. Grand piano. I mean, doesn't sound too much like a grand piano to me, but that's what the sample's called. So what we're doing here, rather than playing with the granular synthesis like we did in the previous video, what we're going to do is we're going to load a number of different samples that aren't layered. So sometimes you can layer things up, so you could use the different engines, or if we were back in the analog world, we could layer up the various oscillators to create our tones. But this is going to be using more akin to something like a kind of a split keyboard. So with our samples intact here and activated, let's come in and choose, let's go for drums and percussion, and this is going to be kind of the bass. So we'll go for a drum loop. Let's just see what it sounds like. That's interesting, but quite like that too. And groove and straight. Let's listen to an 80s snare. I think we'll go for a loop. Let's go for one of these break loops. That makes more sense for the purposes of this video. Okay, so we've got a drum loop. Let's just double click that to load it up. Now we can come in and we could do all the granular stuff if we really wanted to. And we could give it some different start points and all that kind of stuff. We could come in here, we could choose a particular hit that we like the look of, and we could use that as the basis for a granule. So there's kind of mad snare thing going on. But what I really want to look at here is to expand on the stuff we looked at before and go, well, we've got this. I'm just going to put my start back to position 0. And I want to go, well, you know what? It would be nice to just have this under my left hand and have something else playing on the keyboard. So what we could do is we could come over to slot B here. We could go, let's look at a guitar and a bass maybe. And we could go for a slap bass. Yeah, that sounds quite good. So let's double click that. We'll load that up. And obviously there are a number of slots here. We've got A to F. So we've got 6 slots that we can load different samples into. And at the moment, it doesn't matter where, if I just show you the keyboard again so you can see what I'm playing. This is simply playing that one sample in slot B mapped across the whole keyboard. And it's playing sample B because that's the one we've got activated at the moment. If I come back to slot A, so you're seeing that this is actually changing the kind of the pitch as well, as you might expect from a sample player. Sometimes they do that. What I want to do is be able to play them both. So what we can do is we can come over to map. And what we can do here is look at a simple kind of setup where we're using the key map. So you can see here it says single key map, and we've got key velocity random. So if I just choose random, you can see that it's going to go. And nothing's happening at the moment. There's no randomization. Until you kind of hit the key again. So if you watch the keyboard. So this is taking just a kind of a, I imagine there's a percentage in here which is choosing which of the two samples that we have active to play at any given keystroke. That's not quite what we want. So what we want to do is map this over the keyboard. So if we look at A, we can see this is ranged from, well, C0 to C5 is the entire range of our keyboard. So we can use this slider as a way of kind of defining what goes where. So with A active, A being our drums, we can just grab this and move it to the left or the right. We're going to go for minus so that the drums are on the left set of keys. So we can see this range defined here. And if we click on the B, which is the bass, and drag this the other way, so this is going from kind of C2 upwards, what we should find is that when we play, say, this, and then now, you can probably spot one problem here, and that's the fact that if we wanted to use this left hand to just keep our drum loop going, you can see down here I'm still holding that key, but the loop has run out. So what we can do there is we can go to edit, and with our A sample selected, which is our drums, we can just choose the playback. So at the moment we didn't have loop activated. Now we have, as you can see, it's gone blue and this has gone grey, so we can't choose kind of like an area of this to play anymore. Hold the key down. Let's just go down here and you can see I'm just hitting that key. And it's fixed our problem. Now we don't need to do that with sample B. We like that note running through as it is, and it means that we can play it more like a traditional instrument. Like so. So we've got our mapping sorted. In fact, we can ignore all of this if we want. We could go straight on to, say, maybe adding some reverb, all those kind of things that we would have done before. I don't think I need to for this, to be honest. I think we can stay in synth and I can now just start playing. So let's just go. So there you go. It's simple as that. Now, obviously, we could add a third and a fourth, fifth and sixth sample as we needed to. So something that I think this would be good for is creating like a playable environment. So you could have like a wind noise, a traffic noise, rain, maybe a crowd. And I'm basing these all on some of the samples that you get with this. So if we were coming down to like field recordings, you could add cars and city, crowd, all that kind of stuff. And you could play that. So if you're kind of recording to picture and you need to add in some kind of ambient sounds, and this is a really good way, rather than trying to lay all these things up separately, you could create a cityscape synth basically with 6 different playable areas of your keyboard. But I just wanted to show you like a simpler example of how this could be done. And I think that is a good way of showing you. So we've got a beat and we've got a bass. Cool. So thanks very much. I've been Rob with the Oyster House Boys, and I'll be back soon with another video. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.